Welcome to the Shabbat Channel, a taste of CSAIR in your inbox. We wish that we could be with you in person, but for now we think this is the next best thing. So check out this week's episode for music from an amazing artist and Torah from our own CSAIR community. For now, you'll have to supply the Kiddush. Shabbat Shalom.
When you think of the covenant between the Israelites and God, does an object come to mind? Maybe you're thinking of a Torah scroll or the Ten Commandments. This week's Parsha actually says that the object with which we mark our covenant with God is salt. In chapter 2, verse 13, it says, "You shall season your every meal offering with salt. You shall not omit from your meal offering the salt of your covenant with God. With all your offerings, you must offer salt." In fact, the phrase "the salt covenant" appears 2 other times in the book of Numbers and in the book of Chronicles. What could the salt of the covenant with God mean? One interpretation is that salt preserves the covenant, making it enduring and everlasting. Just as salt helps preserve food and vegetables, so too the covenant of salt with God is a way to ensure a long-term relationship. A midrash in Sifrei Bamidbar tells us, the covenant was made with Aaron, with something that is not just healthy and resistant to decay, but something that also maintains the health of other things. Salt was the ultimate preservative in the ancient world, helping to lengthen the shelf life of many, many foods. In fact, many other cultures across the Near East had covenants and rituals with salt. So salt is a way to metaphorically remind us and God that we are preserving our relationship with each other, Lador Vador, from one generation to the next. We are in this together for the long haul. The Midrash also speaks about how salt maintains health. In his book, Salt, A World History, Mark Herlansky notes that salt is present in almost every part of the human bodies and the fluids that it produces. Not only that, but sodium is needed to propel oxygen through the blood and move our muscles, including our hearts. Humans simply cannot live without salt. Not only does salt preserve food, but salt preserves us as humans. Viewed through that lens, it's a beautiful metaphor about how God sustains us as a Jewish people. We know that God provided manna and quail and water for the Israelites in the desert. And we know that God not only provided for them and also us with physical sustenance, but spiritual sustenance as well. We need God to survive. And yet salt also has dual properties. It adds flavor and preserves food, but add too much of it and it can destroy a good meal and crops. Rabbeinu Bachya, one of our Torah commentators, writes about how salt is a product of seawater and the heat from the sun. He says that these 2 elements of water and sun signify 2 of the divine attributes, the attributes of compassion, of rachamim, and the attribute of justice, of din. God saw that humanity could not endure with justice alone, so God combined it with the attribute of compassion. In the same way, salt preserves and destroys. It preserves meat for a long time and gives flavor to food, and it also destroys, as vegetation cannot grow in a place that is very salty. Rabbeinu Bachya elaborated on the dual nature of salt as a preserver and a destroyer. It is life-sustaining and dangerous to our health at the same time. And we know this is scientifically true. We know there are health risks both of too much salt and too little in our diets. Rabbi Tim Bernard writes that this duality is true of covenants as well, that they are very powerful forces and that they must be held in balance to harness their forces for benefit and not for harm. The illustration given by Bachya is instructive. God had to compromise on God's initial plan to allow for rachamim, for compassion, so there would be a place for humans in the world. The notion that both parties have to compromise in order to have a successful relationship is familiar from human relationships, but pretty radical when described to the divine relationship. So while the covenant of salt might seem like a strange concept when we first encounter it, it actually has a great deal to teach us about our relationship with God and with each other. It teaches us about enduring for the long haul, sustaining ourselves spiritually through relationships, and the profound need to compromise. We have officially passed the 1-year mark of the pandemic and when it really affected our city. And we have all had feelings of loss and sadness, resilience, and fortitude. More than any other year and time in our lives, we have needed relationships to help see us through. We have had to rely on each other for physical, emotional, and spiritual sustenance. We have worked hard to keep our relationships intact through Zoom and WhatsApp and email across physical distances, committed to each other for the long term. And we've had to compromise often our emotional well-being in order to keep each other physically safe. And we have navigated all of this while figuring out our relationship to God and our religious communities during a time of crisis. As we head into this Shabbat, take a moment to just think for a second about what relationships have sustained you. Who and what have you committed and recommitted to? What compromises have you made to be able to endure? How has your relationship with God helped preserve or challenge your soul this year? May you have a sweet, sweet Shabbat that's hopefully just a little bit salty. Shabbat Shalom.
Hello, CSAIR. I'm David Glazer. Thank you very much for inviting me to come and to sing with you. I am the music chair, music director at SAR Academy, and many of my students I know go to CSAIR, and I'm really excited to have the opportunity to sing for you. The song that I'd like to sing as Shabbat is coming in, and as Pesach is coming up also very soon, is the famous song V'hi She'amda from Yonatan Razel. I'm sure you know it. I really happen to enjoy it, and I think it's very appropriate for the holiday of Pesach that is coming up. Of course, we say the word V'hi She'amda at our Seder, at our table. So please sing along to yourself, with me, however you want. V'hi She'amda la'avoteinu, V'hi She'amda la'avoteinu v'lanu, Shelo echad bilvad amad aleinu l'chaloteinu, amad aleinu l'chaloteinu, V'hi She'amda la'avoteinu, V'hi She'amda la'avoteinu v'lanu, Shelo echad bilvad amad aleinu l'chaloteinu, amad aleinu l'chaloteinu, V'akadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu, matzilenu mi'adam. V'akadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu, matzilenu mi'adam. Nai, 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 nai. Na 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 Aleinu l'chaloteinu, amad aleinu l'chaloteinu, V'akadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu, matzilenu mi'adam. V'akadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu, matzilenu mi'adam. Nai, 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 nai. Na, na, nai, na, nai, nai, nai. Na, na, nai, na, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Na, na, nai, na, nai, nai, nai. Na, na, nai, na, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Shabbat Shalom. Shelo echad בלבד אמר עלינו לכלותנו, אמר עלינו לכלותנו, והקדוש ברוך הוא מציל